All right, go ahead and make yourself comfortable there. One of the chairs.
Sit. Sit. Sit.
All right.
Sit.
So we put on the consultation form, we put on the website, we're still recording consultations, training sessions, and Zoom sessions.
Yes.
Okay. So I just read over the form right now, dog reactivity.
Yeah, he's really leash reactive. I adopted him when he was a year old, which presented like a ton of problems because he never really had a home, and so he wasn't. I don't know. He wouldn't let me catch his paws. He wouldn't let me. He was like didn't really care what I had to say. He wasn't like looking for human like approval or treats or anything. So to get him to do anything has been really difficult. And then after like probably 3 months of me having him, he started to get pretty leash reactive. And I've met with another trainer. We're actually from Seattle, and he like had me growl at him.
Sure.
Which it worked pretty well, but then when I was around other people, I wouldn't really like instinctive. Yeah, and I'm like walking around downtown Seattle, I wouldn't do it, and so I couldn't really stick to it. And then he sometimes I've tried other things like online. I've like looked at YouTube videos and stuff, and he'll be better for a little bit, and then once he learns to not pay, he can kind of pay attention to me and what I'm doing. And then also be looking for other things.
Sure.
So he like learns, he's really good at first, and then he'll like regress basically.
Okay.
So.
When you worked with the other trainer, was he on a harness? Did he have him on a different kind of collar?
He had him on this.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
this is what I've always had. I have gotten an e-collar before, but I don't really know how to train, and I don't love the idea of it, but I'm okay with it. And I just didn't know how to train him with it, and I felt like that was not nice.
Yeah. No, we definitely want to have guidance when using your remote collar. Do you know what your make and model is of the collar?
No, and I don't love it because it's really hard. Well, I guess you can tell me, but it's really hard for me to switch between like the sound and then it's like a sound and vibrate and shock.
Sure.
And it's not super easy to switch between them. So like if I were to need to do sound and then shock, I just got it off Amazon. Yeah.
Was it like, how much did you spend?
I don't remember. It was a couple years ago.
Okay. Because I think I know what you're talking about.
$50. It looks like there's a little walkie-talkie. You have to like press like.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's the exact one I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah, those aren't good. Those aren't. One, they're not good quality.
Yeah.
They tend to crap out after a month or two.
Okay.
But then also how the stimulation comes across is also not good.
Okay.
And then just user friendliness.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Totally.
So,
yeah, I'm okay with that. I've never really used it. I think I tried to use the vibrate for a little bit because I didn't want to shock him.
Sure. So, and then he's got like a good prey drive. It sounds like he's very leash or squirrel reactive or something.
Yeah, which is also not. He wasn't like that when I got him, and then he has been like very squirrel, like squirrels and bunnies and cats kind of. But if he sees a cat, he's okay, and like I can take him to the dog park and he's not reactive.
Okay, so he goes to the dog park and he's social?
Yeah, I feel like he is more nervous around bigger dogs than smaller dogs, but he can be there and he's fine. He's gotten in like a couple tips over the years, but nothing that I couldn't like pull him away from.
Okay. Was it just too much like hard play? Was it like over an object?
No, he's not an object. It was just too much. Like I think he got nervous with the big dogs like being over him, and then he tries to hump that dog, and then the dog will hump him, and then they just kind of get like a little out of control.
Okay.
He's very anxious all the time.
And so we had squirrel reactivity, dog reactivity. Anything else?
He barks at home a lot when he hears people outside.
Okay.
Which I think is just him being anxious and like constantly aware.
And this is when you're home or when you're absent?
When I'm home.
Gotcha.
Hey.
Have you done anything to correct that?
Yeah, so it's a lot better than it used to be. I make him come towards me, sit, lay down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I hold his snout,
Mm-hmm.
sit quiet. And sometimes he'll even know, he'll bark and then run right towards me.
Mm-hmm.
He'll let out one and then come lay down.
Mm-hmm.
He knows.
Mm-hmm.
He knows pretty much what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do. And then he also has awful recall outside. That,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Inside he's a pretty good vet.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Just general like overall anxiety, I guess, about things, which makes me anxious, and I'm sure it's not good for him.
All right. Obviously with we have recall, we have the reactivity, leash walking, anything else that you want to cover with, is it Bisbee?
Yeah, Bisbee.
Yeah,
Hey, bud, come.
with Bisbee here.
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. So it's funny because when I tell people about this stuff, they don't believe me when I say like, there's some trainers that'll tell you to growl at your dog.
Yes.
And they're like, really? Because like, everyone's like, really? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Like, you're not the first person. You're not going to be the last person. And yes, like dogs growling at each other, but you trying to growl at him growling are very different, right?
Okay.
So, couple of things. The harness actually makes for more reactivity.
Okay.
That's always the first thing. Okay, it's the first thing I see here, which is what I was asking if that was your thing or the trainer's thing.
Yeah.
Now it looks like you have a front clip harness.
Yeah.
Right. So harnesses are meant for pulling. And I know there's like the no pull harness where it's like the front clip.
Yeah.
And it diverts the pressure from the chest to the side. No pull harnesses are oxymorons because
Yeah.
harnesses are meant for pulling, right? So what happens is dogs have this thing called opposition reflex, which is when they feel tension, they go against it, and it creates frustration. And so he's pulling towards a dog or a squirrel or something that he wants, right? And he can be completely like happy-go-lucky, and you pull back and you create frustration, and then it agitates the dog. And then we get an aggressive response. So we use that in protection training. That's how we create controlled aggression. But if your dog's untrained and you don't want to put pressure on the trachea, then that's kind of like where you're gonna go.
That's what because when I first got him, when I first got him, I did the front harness because I could, just to get him to walk on the leash and not like just
pressure.
choke himself,
Mhm.
not because of reactivity.
Right.
Just he was just like gagging.
Yeah, because it's the most common thing that people do, especially with puppies.
Yeah.
Because puppies are like super friendly, and then they put a harness on them so they don't puppies
Yeah.
don't put pressure on their throats. But then over time, those puppies a lot of times become progressively aggressive
Mhm.
because of the harness and the agitation that it creates when people pull back. So obviously, we train with Prong and e-collar. That's all over our website. I'm assuming you did research on this before.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So all my dogs, all my puppies 6 months and older are trained on e-collar.
Okay.
Reason is it's, in my opinion, the most effective and reliable tool. It gets us off leash control right off the bat. When it comes to correcting behaviors, it's at the press of a button. So it doesn't work. Technical skill, there's not a whole ton of technical skill, it's very simple. There's more gray area in terms of what you can do wrong with it and not actually do anything wrong. Okay. I know a lot of trainers usually stress like timing and like, body language, which yes, I agree, body language is important, but it's not as important as people think it is. It's much more simple if done correctly. So with the leash reactivity stuff, a lot of that just sounds like frustration because, like you said, you think the dog barks and he's fine. So not uncommon that dogs are off leash friendly, on leash reactive. So first thing we do to teach is to teach the heel, which alleviates leash pulling, which alleviates frustration, helps de-escalate the dog. If you got a dog that's anxious, helps the dog process anxiety a bit better because it helps them focus on something. So our style of heel is super strict. I take 5 steps, they take 5 steps, I take 3 steps, they take 3 steps, I stop, they automatically sit, and I don't care what the environment is. I don't care if we're at the park, I don't care if we're at Home Depot, or in the neighborhood, or walking past the dog park. I want that level of control and focus because that's what overrides reactivity a lot of times, okay? Now, it doesn't always work in that way. Like we get dogs that like screw the heel, like I still want to lark bark at this dog, but we still need it as a reference point.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, if you put e-collar on a dog and you start to remote and press the button and they feel it, typically their first response is almost always to move and move away. Because they're thinking like, what the hell is this? I don't know what it is, I want to run from it.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't want them to run from it. We want to teach them that it means to return to you. So since it makes him move, we use a moving behavior of heel to start teaching how pressure turns on and then how it turns off. But also he gets to express the need to move in response to the collar. So it kind of helps balance out all the training and the stress that's going to be built up from it. So once we teach the concept of heel, which is typically it's 2 classes, we teach it the first class, the first half of it, I'll give you homework and I'll say, I'll see you in a week. And then the second week comes, we start off with some questions, how to go, how's reactivity, how much progress did you make in reactivity, so on and so forth. And that's kind of how what dictates how we progress, okay? So if you come back class 2 and you're like, hey Jesse, like 60% of the reactivity is gone, I go, great, where did you see reactivity? Oh, the dogs were barking at him. Super common. I go, yeah, that's normal. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna make this adjustment, we're gonna bump the number a little bit here, we're gonna work on the second half of heel, I'll see you in a week.
Okay.
You come back week 3, how's reactivity? 90% better, what's that last 10%? Dogs behind fences, oh, okay, that's normal. This is what you're gonna do whenever you come across that, and then we teach more stuff, okay? Because it's just knowing how to address the issue, but also having a means to do it, and it's easy to understand and easy to replicate.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like the main thing, because as a trainer, I have a ton of skills. You're not gonna learn all the skills that I have. You're just gonna learn what you need that's gonna get you your solution, and then gonna get you reliability in terms of your control, okay?
Okay.
So then, if that is going well, first and second class, third class we would jump into recall. Okay, because if you know, the hardest things you have right now is squirrel reactivity and dog reactivity.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing here.
Yeah.
So if all that is progressive, we just keep teaching stuff, and then like let's say it takes you longer for whatever reason, you already have the information. It's just you need to know what to do for specific scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I explain it to you, and it's just common sense stuff, and then you go out and you keep practicing, but we keep teaching more stuff. Okay, it doesn't make sense for you to spend an hour trying to walk you through any scenario that's going to happen.
Yes.
Because you're going to forget everything. It's kind of like you experience them, you go through them, you succeed, you fail, you come back, and then we build on that. Okay. So class 3, we should be going straight into the recall. Recall is another 2 classes.
Okay.
And then if all that's going good, the 5th class, we could cover behavior, like in the home and stuff. You're doing what most people tend to do, which is if the dog is barking out the window, they call the dog back. But then if the dog returns and it does the task, they'll usually go back to what they're doing, right? So you're not teaching them to not bark out the window, you're really just redirecting them.
Yeah.
But then if he's like, okay, is that it? I'm gonna go back to barking out the window.
Yeah.
When really it would be teaching them to not bark out the window.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the difference.
Yeah.
So we have behavioral obedience.
Yes.
Obedience gives you control, right? Sit, stay, down, come, play, steal. Those are the 6 standard family pet commands. So like let's say here, he was kind of pacing around, and like let's say you had a good down, you just went down, plop, right? You just establish control from the get-go. We don't allow for all this. And then, because here he laid down, and it looks like he laid down just of his own accord.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a choice he's made after going like, okay, all the options have been explored, now I'm gonna lay down, which is different from just lay down and don't move.
Yeah.
Okay? So obedience is physical control, behavior is mental control. That's how I look at it, okay? So think of obedience as education, sit, stay, come, math, English, science, behavior is morality, they'll jump, don't bark, don't bite, they'll still cheat. So, a very smart person who's a genius at physics or whatever can be a terrible person. And then we have someone who's a very good person, but not the smartest person, right? So they don't correlate. So same thing here. Like I just had a consultation the other day with somebody whose dog did puppy training, agility training, trick training, like 5 different trainers, and is still like going and lunging at people and lunging at dogs, like that, right? I'm like, she's like, my dog knows all this stuff, but is still a jerk. I'm like, yes, because that's behavior. Your dog knows all this stuff, which is intelligence, but morality or behavior is different from that, okay? So it's simple because it's all about knowing how to correct him correctly.
Yeah.
So like, let's say barking out the window like he were to stay with my dogs, and he was barking out the window, and my dogs were like, this is annoying, we don't want you to bark out the window.
Yeah.
How do you think they would stop him?
I don't know, by barking at him? No?
You're kind of close. What's an escalation of barking?
Growling,
What's that?
like a biting.
Biting.
Yeah,
Right? Physicality.
yeah,
Don't do that in our house.
yeah,
Right? So like at the dog park, let's say a dog mounts him, he doesn't want to be mounted, like there might be a growl and like a turn and snap, or
Yeah.
there might be a full-on contact, right?
yeah,
He's using physicality to establish a boundary of like, don't you try to mount me.
yeah,
So it's really the same thing here.
yeah,
Anything that we don't want would need just simply a correction. So like if a dog is jumping on someone, most people go to sit, right? Sit, 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 but the dog will keep like jumping on them. Because
yes,
sit is not addressing the excitement,
yeah,
right? Because if the dog's so excited, they're not gonna listen. When really I could just correct the dog for jumping, I don't care what you do, just don't jump on me.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
So obedience, it's not that it's wrong in terms of fixing the behavior, it's just, it's
totally
different.
different, yeah, which
right?
I learned very quickly with him.
Right, so
I know.
when it comes to leash reactivity, and how I talked about heel addressing that, is because if he's not been taught what to do, he's gonna make his own choices, right? And that's where that comes into play.
Yeah,
But let's say he doesn't care about the heel, and he's like, I still wanna lunge and bark at dogs because it's fun for me,
sit,
we would have to correct them,
sit,
directly
yeah.
for the behavior, right?
That's another thing he likes to do. He'll lay down and then he'll get right back up when he's nervous.
Yeah, anxious energy tends to move,
Yeah,
right? Or they're unable to settle. So, but I don't think his anxiety is that bad. I think he's like maybe, like a three or four.
yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
even more than that. It's just the inability to settle is what he's struggling with.
Yeah, really badly.
Yeah.
And
So,
so I guess another question I have is we just moved here from Seattle like last week.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be here for 14 more weeks.
Hmm.
So is the class gonna be able to cover in the 14 weeks? I might be able to stay for like a 15th or 16th week.
Mhm.
I'm a travel nurse, and so that's my contract here.
Gotcha. So, what I would do is by the end of the class or the consultation, I would give you your options
Okay,
because this isn't going to take months.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
This is at minimum 6 classes.
okay,
Okay. So that would be 6 weeks once a week. So
Yeah.
that's below that threshold of 14
Yeah.
to 15 weeks.
for sure.
But if you wanted more obedience or more control,
Yeah.
then that would be longer.
Get out.
Okay.
No, leave it.
So the way that I operate
Sit.
is I look at what you're wanting and needing, I assess the situation,
Yeah,
and then I go, this is what you need at minimum, and then if you want more, this is what you can also do.
perfect,
Okay.
okay.
So here with the e-collar, the reason why it's such an effective tool is, of course, dogs are physical animals,
Hey, there.
and it's a muscle contraction. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the TENS unit?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay, so it's the same technology.
Okay,
Okay, the ones that we use are like miniaturized TENS units. It's just a muscle contraction or stimulator.
okay,
Okay, so if you put on his neck, only this would move. If you were to put on your palm, only like your hand or your
it
palm would move.
doesn't, it's not like an actual like.
It's not electricity.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, okay. So
I like that.
a lot of people think it's like electrocution.
Yeah.
Because they hear the word shock.
Yeah.
Right, or like electric collar. I go, no, they use it on humans. It's just a miniaturized TENS unit.
Yeah.
Okay? In my opinion, it's more refined. With TENS units, there's the risk of electrocution. You gotta be careful with pacemakers. There's also a risk of electrical burn. Okay?
Yeah,
So with e-collar, we don't have that.
Yeah, okay.
Fully waterproof system, both the transmitter and the receiver. It's not gonna burn your dog's skin. What can happen are pressure sores, which
Yeah.
of course are too pros, right? So if you leave it on for a long period of time,
for sure.
the fur will fall off, it'll scab over. But if that happens, it heals up, grows right back.
Yeah,
That's from people like leaving it on for like 8 hours and not moving it.
yeah,
So you're not most likely gonna be using it for that long of a time over in succession. You should be using it when you need it.
Yeah.
Okay? So like if he's going on an hour-long walk, that's below that 2-hour threshold.
Yes,
okay?
for sure.
As long as you're rotating the sides every time you use it, again, it shouldn't be a problem.
yeah.
So there's the risk of pressure sores. I've used it on dogs with heart murmurs,
Okay.
seizures, other medical conditions I've worked on. I've worked with dogs as old as 12 years old, no issues, okay? Because again, it's just a muscle stimulator.
Yeah, for
okay?
sure.
So with the TENS units, of course, the the strength of the contraction gets greater the higher they go, right? So when applied to people, they'll ask them, tell us when it becomes too much, and then when it goes too high, and they go, that's too much, they lower it, and they let the machine do its work.
Yeah.
Very similar to dogs, okay? We start low, we work our way up. Bisbee tells me what's too low, what's too high.
Yeah.
If he's not listening, it's too low. If he's jumping around yelping, probably too high, okay? So it's finding that nice middle ground. I say as low as possible, but as high as needed.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of trainers, when they talk about e-collar, stress low level e-collar, and they work like at levels like around 4 to 8, and ours goes 127, just a reference.
Okay.
I get like 1 or 2 dogs a year that are that sensitive. Okay. Usually dogs are around 15 to 35.
Okay.
That's where the bulk of dogs lie.
Okay.
And then you get your outliers, the few that will go like even lower, and then the ones that are like at 80 plus.
Okay.
That are at the extremes.
Yeah.
So, I help you figure all this stuff out.
Yeah.
We figure all that out on the first class, and then I give you the kind of the knowledge of like, this is how you're going to determine what level to be at depending on the environment, because it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be static.
Yeah.
It's going to change. If you're in an environment with a lot of squirrels,
Yes.
it might be higher up, right? If you're in a very quiet environment, you're going to be lower,
Yeah.
right? So it's just, again, common sense, and you just adjust it to the environment that you need.
Perfect.
So first thing we teach is the heel. Make sure we get the foundation for reactivity. That's 2 classes. Jump into recall as long as everything's going great. By the 3rd class, that's 2 classes, which leaves class 5 and 6.
Yeah.
1 class can be on correcting behavior because it's simple.
Yeah.
It's aversive for what you don't want. So growing up, I was raised old school, I was spanked. So talking back to my mom,
Yeah.
not doing my homework, or like picking on my brothers or sister or something like that, spank, spank, spank. I got spanked for all those things
He's so calm. He's never like this. Hi.
as a deterrent to either not do that again,
Yeah.
or also to do it, right? Like, oh, make sure you do your chores or you'll get spanked, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So negative can be a motivator as well, it just depends on how you layer it in.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, jumping, barking, nipping, chewing, biting, things that you don't want, is simply correction. It's not like, oh, I don't want you biting on this furniture, sit, because they're not related.
Yeah.
Because then when he's not sitting, he would just bite furniture, right?
Yeah.
So the behavior stuff is super simple, and if everything's going well, the last class could be like an overview, if you want to review the first,
Yeah.
like the heel and the recall again.
Okay.
Or if you're like, hey, can we learn something new? And I'll ask, well, what would you like to learn? If it's simple enough to teach in a class, and you can continue it, I teach it.
Okay.
But if it's like, oh, I want my dog to learn like how to like down even when he's running full speed, that takes time.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, we're not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah,
I teach
no.
down, but not that kind of down.
Yeah.
Right? Then we have 3, 6, 9, and 12-week programs. The 3-week program is strictly for reactivity. We
Okay.
cover leash pulling and reactivity, so it's just 3 classes. But that's too short for what you're needing.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason why I suggest 6 for you is because of the recall aspect of it.
Okay.
If all you cared about was like the leash reactivity, then you would be fine with the 3 classes.
Okay.
So 6 helps cover those 2 things, and then we have 9 and 12-week programs, which is we teach more obedience. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's like, no, I just want to walk my dog, have him not be a jerk,
Yeah.
and be able to call him back from squirrels or whatever, then you're fine with 6.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you want more control or obedience, then 9 and 12 are also options.
Okay.
So I just prioritize what you're wanting.
Yeah.
When it comes to training, I can only take you as far as you're willing to go.
Yeah.
So let's say we start the process and the reactivity is doing good, but you're struggling with it. Everybody has a breaking point when it comes to corrections. Okay, so dogs are physical animals, they already have a tolerance for discomfort and pain as it is because they bite each other. But also there's the incentive to perform the behavior. So if being reactive and lunging and barking is really fun for him, or he's done it for so long that it's just really ingrained, we might need a harsher correction to deter the behavior. Okay, so if like we're actually trying to find the number, I'm like, all right, you know what, the next time he lunges and barks, 95. You leave here, because you're logical, you're gonna be like, man, 95, like out of 127, that's so high. Right? Is that when you come back, I'm like, how'd it go? And you're like, oh, it was really bad this week. And I'm gonna ask, like, well, how high did you go? You're like, oh, 45? I'm like, 45 is not 95. We're not gonna stop the behavior, we're not willing to go there. And it happens because here, when I coach people through it, it's easier for them because I'm telling them.
Yeah.
But then what happens is the dog learns When Jesse is around, you're willing to go to this level.
Yeah.
When Jesse's not around, you're not.
Yeah.
And they learn that pattern.
Yeah.
So I tell that to everybody just because I don't want you to think that it's straightforward. It should be straightforward.
Yeah.
But if for whatever reason he's just like being super tough or stubborn for certain things, you have to be willing to go to those levels in order to break the behavior. Okay. One of the most common questions I get is, when does the e-collar go away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You drive?
I do drive.
Do you go on the expressway?
Yes.
Do you go the speed limit?
No.
Why not?
Because, well, in Chicago, no one does.
No one does anyway. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I know. Sit. You hear someone out there?
Yeah, most people don't go the speed limit.
Yeah.
Right? And then we get stuck behind someone who is going the speed limit, we tend to get mad.
Yeah.
Right? So it's called opportunistic behavior. So if you see a squad car, what happens?
You slow down.
Why?
Because you don't want to get in trouble.
No one get in trouble, no one get a ticket,
Yeah.
right? So all the animals do it. It's part
Yeah.
of survival instinct. So like, let's say there's a pond of water
Yeah.
with an alligator, and the animals are aware, they won't drink from the water.
Yeah.
Okay, once they see the alligator leave, everybody comes in, they drink water, and then they see it come back, they leave.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so think of the e-collar as a cop on the collar. When it's on, he's gonna know, oh, I gotta behave myself, can't be leash reactive, I have to return, right? Because mom, there's means of this threat of consequence.
Yeah.
When he doesn't have it on, he's gonna push the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So all this means is he's not gonna be wearing it 24/7. It's just when you go on your walks,
Yeah.
if he's gonna be off leash, he's gonna be at the dog park.
Yes.
Any time you're outside, because you can't account for life, things happen.
Yeah.
Is I know I have a means of control. Okay.
Yes.
Inside the house, nothing going on, you don't need it.
Okay.
Now let's say barking out the window or whatever, right? That I would give you other means of correction,
Okay.
so that you're not dependent on the collar. Because
Yeah.
then if you're using the e-collar, which you could, to correct barking at the window,
It
when
would be
you
on
remove it.
all the time. Yeah. 'Cause
Exactly.
who knows when someone's gonna walk by.
Correct, right? So I give you other means of correction for things like that, so you're not relying on the collar, okay? But outside, expect that he's gonna need it anytime you go out for a walk.
Mhm.
If you go out for a quick potty break, or like whatever, you don't need to put it on.
Okay.
But then if you see a parade of dogs and he's being
Yeah.
reactive,
Oh, yeah,
that's
no.
kinda on you,
Yes,
okay?
for sure. I've definitely, he's figured that out with treats.
Sure.
Because I can I've been recently using a ton of treats just to get him to disengage sometimes from far away. And if
Mhm.
I don't bring the treats with me and he knows, he's way more likely to not listen.
Right. So, and for treats and stuff, let's say you're trying to redirect them from looking at a dog, right?
Yeah,
There's no real consequence when you're well, you're not gonna get this treat if you let him work.
yeah, for
Does
sure.
that make sense?
Oh, no, I totally get that. It's
Yeah.
just been a placeholder lately where I'm
Just to try to do something.
try to get something in the car when he's I can tell he's already getting elevated, staring at dogs. If I
Sure.
can get him to look at me in the car, I'll get a treat.
Sure. And the way that I teach,
Right there.
is because most trainers avoid getting your dog over a threshold, or do it at a distance first and then work your way closer. It's not realistic. The
Yeah.
way that we train is, as you go on your daily walk and you get exposed to things, you're doing the training. Okay,
Perfect.
so I prep you
Yeah.
for what life's gonna throw at you.
Cool.
So you're not having to cross the street and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a bad situation where oh, that dog doesn't look good, obviously use discretion.
Yeah,
But I give everybody a system so
lovely.
they can start confronting it and
Yeah.
actually start living their life and not have to worry about doing things that are not realistic to how it actually is in the city.
For sure. That's what's been hard is try to get him far away, but I'm not in control of those other dogs. I can't tell them what
Yeah.
to do, and so that's
yeah.
been hard.
Yeah. I don't know how.
And then one comes around the corner and then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So reactivity is a spectrum. Human reactivity is almost always the first thing that goes away. Then we have calm dogs.
Yeah.
Excited or puppy type energy is usually in the middle. Other reactive dogs, and then sudden run-ins, or elevator doors opening with dogs, right,
Yes.
are in the spectrum. And the reason why those two are the hardest are with reactivity. If a dog is lunging and barking at him, he's going to feel threatened, so he's going to want to lunge and bark back.
Yeah.
Right? So he's technically more validated right there in
Yeah.
doing so, or there's more reason, which makes sense. We can teach him not to, but he's going to be more incentivized.
Yeah.
When it comes to the other reactive dog, they tend to want to leave the situation. So then if they leave the situation and you're trying to stop him from being reactive, he thinks his reactivity caused them to leave. So then that also works against you, right?
For sure.
And then when you turn the corner and stuff, like you can't plan for that.
Yeah.
You just turn a corner, hey, there's a dog, right?
Yeah.
So that's why those take longer. You can get them over it.
Yeah.
And I teach you how to, work through these situations. But expect, that's going to take a little bit just because you can't plan.
Well, yeah, just so that's the only time he's been like human reactive is when we were moving out of the Seattle apartment, and so he was like very stressed out to begin with, and we never before we walked around the corner of like the elevator of my building, and there was like a big man like right there, and he like freaked, like that scared him, and he was already nervous and he freaked out. That's the only time, but that's when I was like, okay, this is getting really bad. And he's bit me before.
I saw it,
yeah. Yeah, never like a bite. Like I know when a dog is trying to bite you, it's definitely like he's like lunging, I'm trying to pull him away, and he'll like snap me.
Yeah, that's what we call redirected aggression.
Yeah.
So when he gets that frustrated, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So like in the movies, if you ever see someone like when they're like cutting off their arm or like suturing them or something, they'll give them something to bite on if they can't give them like anesthetic or something. Yeah. Because it's gonna suck, right? So that pain's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Frustration's got to go somewhere,
for sure.
right? So in that sense, because he's so agitated, especially like if you're trying to body block and you're putting yourself right in between them.
That's when I mostly will get. But I feel like I have to do that in order to like sometimes on the street to be like in the middle of it.
Correct. Yeah. So. Potentially, when we get a dog that already redirects or is getting frustrated like that, when we start to put them under pressure in the beginning, we might see that.
Yeah.
Okay? But we have to work them through it. It's rare.
Okay.
But just so that you're aware.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will tell you, since we're going to expect or assume this is going to happen.
Okay.
So you're going to do this, so that this way, in case it happens, we prevent the situation, right? Because I've done this for so long that I know what to expect, or what to potentially expect. So then I can just say like, okay, we're going to assume this, because if you're assuming it, you're already a step ahead and you prevent things from happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
How much does this guy weigh?
52, 53 pounds, maybe 55. He's a little chunky, but it might be his winter coat.
The collar that I recommend for you is the dog chart. We can send you the information.
Yeah, perfect.
Black edition.
Okay.
It's meant for 70 pounds and over.
Okay.
The reason why I'm recommending it for you is don't worry about the size thing. It just means more output. More output means lower number.
Okay.
Okay. So like my 8-pound Chihuahua, I could use it on him.
Okay.
Is one, he's got a dense coat.
Yes.
Okay. So that's one thing you have to factor in. Also, when we're factoring reactivity, we have to factor in stress levels, we have to factor in adrenaline, emotional state, that we're gonna have to override that. Okay. So I know if I have more output, I'm more likely to be able to override. Okay.
Perfect.
So it's perfectly safe to use in a guy like him. He's perfectly fine. Like I said, my 8-pound Chihuahua could wear it. Typically, I use solely remote collar, flat collar, remote collar, because harness would counteract the e-collar. Okay. Because harness promotes frustration and pulling, and then e-collar.
Like you said, flat collar?
Correct.
Like this one?
Correct.
Okay.
So harness would be contradicting the e-collar. Okay. So we don't want any conflict there. So we just go on a standard flat collar.
Okay.
You could also, if you like, it's a very, very functional combination, is pair prom with e-collar.
Okay.
Prom gives you immediate physical leverage. So like if you turn the corner and there is a dog, e-collar is not going to kick in right away. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out the situation.
Yeah.
But with the prom, people call it, or a lot of trainers call it power steering on the dog.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a lot of physical leverage and control. And then so it's like the prom is there to give that leverage physically if needed. And then the collar is there to override the situation no matter where he's at in the escalation. Okay? They're perfectly safe to use with each other. We have a Doberman puppy who's like 30 pounds right now, who's training on a prom with e-collar, and she's perfectly fine. Okay? It's just how people...
Yeah, the only question I have about that is that I guess we'll teach him, we have to teach him with the prong collar, because I feel, which maybe he won't, I just never wanted to use it because he, like when I first got him and he wouldn't even like he would just lean into it, I think, and not even understand that.
Oh, because.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so with the prong collar, think of it as, in the way that we would apply it, is it's there just in case.
Okay.
So it's not really doing a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's there just in case you turn and you're like, oh crap.
But would he know, like, not try to run away from it, basically, like the pain, uncomfortable?
Oh, so people, when they see the prong collar, they're thinking like, oh, that must hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean because he'll even do it with a flat collar, where until he's choking.
Yeah, so with a flat collar, he would be more likely to pull
Okay.
into it because it's a blunt surface.
Yeah.
That's, all the pressure is on one point. With the prong, the pressure is distributed evenly across the
Okay.
neck, but also because it's, I would call it negative pressure, that he's gonna wanna move
Like move
off
away
of
from
it,
it,
right?
okay, that
And we
makes sense.
condition, like we teach them, when you feel pressure, get into it.
Yeah.
So if I put pressure on him to move to the right with the collar, and he gives into it, the pressure goes away.
Got it, okay,
Okay.
cool.
So-
Yeah, so we'll work on teaching also.
Yes, okay, and it's simple, okay?
Yeah,
And that's really just in case, like, I've been training in Chicago for 10 years. What part of the city did you move to?
regular.
Wrigleyville?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wrigleyville is pretty populated. The dog population up there, I don't think is too crazy.
Yeah, it's not, it's so much better than in Seattle. I've been walking him way more
Gotcha.
here.
Yeah, so, but, you know, it's, with the summer coming and like the game, you're right by Wrigley Field,
Yeah.
right? That does get kind of full with like people going to like the bars and everything.
Yeah,
Is that you may want a little bit more control there.
yeah,
They're not expensive. So the e-collar itself, that's the most expensive thing aside from the training. It runs about $325-ish with tax.
Okay.
1 mile range, fully waterproof system, and they last for years. So I've had mine for like 8 years, 9 years,
Okay.
no issues. The most common thing that we do see is it is a rechargeable lithium battery, so the battery will die over time.
yeah.
So like let's say 3 years from now, the battery won't hold a charge. You can go on Dog Trump and purchase one for like 15, 20 bucks,
Okay.
or you can send it in and they'll replace it for you.
Okay.
But other than that, the most common issue I get is just the battery. But the collar will last a really, really long time. Okay, so it's an investment, but it'll last for years. The prong collar, depending on the market, they can range anywhere from like $15 to $35.
Okay.
It just depends on, like, I guess, supply and demand. But you can get those on Amazon,
Yeah.
and we send the link for all that stuff.
Perfect.
And then it's really just a matter of how much work you want to put into this.
Yeah.
At minimum, 6 classes is what I expect.
Okay.
Okay. Now, currently, we're still working with clients here at my facility.
Okay.
Because weather in Chicago can be unpredictable.
Mhm.
Like, it is really nice right now, but it
Yeah,
can
who
be
knows?
crazy tomorrow. So once spring officially hits, we'll be moving or transitioning from here to training at Oz Park, which is
Okay.
just south of Wrigleyville.
Okay.
Oz Park is the busiest park in Chicago.
Okay.
Dogs, people,
Yeah.
strollers,
Uh-huh.
rollerbladers, bikers, baseball games, bar mitzvahs. It's crazy busy, okay? Even last year in 2020, it was crazy busy.
Yeah.
So we work out in the real world, okay?
Okay.
So if you start training and we're training here, a lot of people are concerned with the transference of obedience
Yeah.
here to there, is it all comes down to the number. So Bisbee's number here might be like 25.
Yeah.
But then when we take them to the neighborhood, it could be 45.
Yeah.
But that's the common sense of it, right? Oh, more stuff going on, higher number.
Yeah.
So it transfers fairly easily. So if you started here, and like let's say the weather is really nice and it's consistent, then we transfer over to Oz Park, we would just finish at Oz Park.
Okay.
Or you could wait and then wait for spring to officially kick in, and then we go to Oz. Of course, last year I know it was like super rainy, so we were kind of bouncing back and forth. When it was nice out, we were at Oz, and when it was raining, we were here at my facility,
Okay.
just to keep things going.
Yeah.
My calendar gets crazy busy during the spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be able to reschedule. So, but you have technically both as an option. You could wait a little bit and just start your training at Oz once we move there, or you can start it here, and then during the program, if we move to Oz, we just wrap up over there. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's just personal preference. Any questions?
I guess when would be the official spring when you would move over there?
Whatever the
Just whenever
seasonal
it starts
thing
getting
is.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. I was talking to Maria the other day about it too, what the official spring date was, so that, because people are already asking, like, are we gonna start transferring the Oz? And I was like, as soon as it's consistent. Plus, the lakefront.
Yeah.
Lakefront breeze when it's cold is really cold.
Colder, way colder over there, yeah.
So I was there yesterday for 2 clients. I was just there for like 2.5 hours. And it wasn't cold. Like, it wasn't a cold day, but because we were by the lake and we were outside for so long, like, it got cold.
Yeah.
So, once it's nice and decent and we can be out there because last year we were at Oz for like 8 to 10 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Just training back to back with clients all day.
Okay.
So, being out there when it's too cold, not fun.
Okay. And then is each, I guess, lesson, training session, is that an hour or
Yes.
how long is it? Okay.
1 hour a week. So if you did 6 classes,
Yeah.
you would pick a time with Maria. So if you have like a consistent schedule, or at least a somewhat consistent schedule, because I know nursing can be kind of all over the
Yeah, I
place.
will have a Monday through Friday starting the 15th, which
Okay.
is not ideal for this, but good for my sleeping.
Sure. So then you would pick with Maria,
Okay.
right? And so you said Monday through Friday would be your work schedule, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my schedule tends to be opposite of people.
Yes.
I'm usually evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you know you need a weekend time, my suggestion would be when you leave here, if you know you want to move forward, turn around and let her know.
Yeah.
And then tell her I need a Saturday or Sunday or whatever time because of my schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to be here for a period of time. And then she'll kind of look ahead and put you where we can place you, okay?
Yeah.
Because right now we have a bunch of people signing on. I have people that I saw in January that I'm just starting to see now
Got it,
because there was a
okay.
bit of a
Yeah.
wait.
What time do you do until, I guess, what, on a weekday, what time?
I mean, I've trained as late as 8:30.
Okay,
You know, so
yeah.
I'll end like at 9:30.
I'll be home, I should be home by like 6:15, I could probably be somewhere by 6:30 too.
Yeah. I told Maria that because my schedule was getting so full,
Yeah.
that we could put people at a later time as well and like book later times. So I'm trying to get as many people in. But so what would happen is you schedule something with her, let's say Monday at like 8, whatever, for example. So Monday at 8 for 7 weeks would be your time. So 6 weeks plus 1, just in case you get sick, something happens at work, whatever, you can't make it, we give you an additional week. And then if, let's say something happens, you have to cancel a couple of times, come that 7th week, you've used up what we call priority.
Okay.
So then you might have a class or 2 left over, and you don't lose the classes, but if we have someone else that needs at 8 o'clock Monday time, Maria will tell you like, hey, we have someone who needs to book, you've already used a priority, and she'd give you other options, and we would place you to finish off the program, okay? So, we do have a 48-hour cancellation window.
Okay.
If you cancel outside of 48 hours, you're good, we just reschedule. If you cancel within 48 hours, we give everybody a freebie, because I understand shit happens.
Yeah.
But then if you cancel twice within 48 hours, that second cancellation counts as a class.
Okay.
Okay? But it's usually never a problem. People usually know
for sure.
pretty much ahead of time. I think that's pretty much it. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
So I will reach out to Maria.
Okay.
I'll fill her in on what you're gonna need. She'll email you. You go on Amazon, get that stuff. She'll send you a contract.
Okay.
She'll have all the scheduling and stuff.
Perfect.
My schedule changes every day, so I just learn not to talk about it.
Yeah.
But she'll get you taken care of. And then you just decide how you want to approach it. If you want to just take care of the problem, if you want to go, a little bit further in terms of control. Otherwise, this seems like a pretty standard case.
Yeah.
Should it be any issues, we might need to get special probes for the e-collar because his fur is longer.
So thick, yeah.
So they make special.
It's so, oh, you're okay, sorry buddy. It's like, especially around his neck, it's like so, like.
Yeah, I can see. We have a simulator right now. We're training.
Yeah.
And that's the one con to e-collars when we deal with more denser coated dogs is consistency of contact.
Yeah.
Which they make special probes for and adapters. So we can get as consistent contact as possible. But that's like one of the drawbacks is just making sure that you have connection.
That was something I noticed when I did try I guess the shock collar, the one that I didn't like, I used it like once, was I noticed he didn't even notice because I was like, oh my gosh, his fur is so, no, come. Come, Bisbee, come.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Good. So that's pretty much it. And then, if you want to get a better idea of how things operate, you can also just go to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We have tons of videos on there.
Perfect.
Some covering reactivity and stuff, if you want to get an idea of it. But otherwise, shouldn't be an issue.
Bisbee, come.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Dude, that is only 6.